Why should I worry about compound growth in retirement? Obviously, like we just said, it makes a huge difference, but why once you're in retirement, why should we?
So it's funny because it kind of goes back to that same thing we just were talking about with changing a career in your middle ages or whatever. Uh, Even though you're retired, there's still a long time of your life left to make a significant impact on the wealth that you do or don't have, right? And so, kind of to your comment around going back to that two comma lifestyle, it's all about being generous. It's all about living in abundance. It's all about living with the ability to support your family in the way that you want to. And none of those things change just because I flipped the switch and I'm in retirement. All of those things that you wanted to do are still there in retirement as well. And so, even if I'm sitting at age 70 and thinking, oh man, it's too late. No, you've got another 20
20
years
years.
that you're going to be here, 20 years plus potentially. And kind of like we were just talking about with mom. Uh, Grandma lived to be 94.
90, yeah,
So that's a long
it's a long
time.
time.
A lot of compounding can happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like, I feel like when people say, "Oh, I'm retirement," it feels like you're at the end, but that's still a
It's a long time.
you could still have a really long time. That's a whole like third of your life,
Yeah. No, exactly.
quarter of your life, third of your life. Like
Yeah.
that's a long time.
It's a
So,
significant thing. Well, and really it goes back to even when you talk about like the young people saying, "Oh, don't miss out saving in your 20s." Well, when you're in retirement, that's also a time for you to look backwards and say, what decisions would I have made when I was in my 20s, and how do I help my grandchildren do that, right? And so sometimes it seems like it's insignificant, but for some of our retirees, we'll even help them set up monthly savings plans for their grandchildren, where maybe when their grandchildren are younger, in their single digits, for example, you put $50 a month away, and by the time they get to college age, it's a
so
fairly significant amount
yeah,
of money. And you think, well, it's $50 a month. Well, it adds up pretty quick. And so it's when you think about that compounding decisions, it's never too late to make some of those choices.
and I think about it similarly. I know we have an upcoming episode kind of all about wellness and keeping your mind and body healthy through retirement, but I also think about it in those terms of muscle growth or muscle definition or body composition. It's the same thing. Like once you start working out, that start takes a long time, but then once you start getting some of that muscle growth, muscle compounds on muscle,
Yep,
and things start really clocking.
absolutely.
And that kind of reminds me of that too. It's like it's hard to start, but once you do, and once you kind of get some momentum, it works for you.
It does 100%, 100%. Yeah,
Muscle burns more fat. That it's like that's kind of the same thing.
yeah. Well, and what's funny with all that is when you talk about that compound and how things compound over time, it works to the negative side too sometimes. Where I don't know if you've ever had it. It's like a rainy day, and you're like, I'm gonna be lazy today. I'm gonna sit on the couch and do
Yeah.
nothing. And you're like,
You feel way worse
way
by the
worse.
end of the
Yeah,
day.
you're thinking I'm gonna feel. It's gonna be so nice. I'm gonna feel so energized, and you're
Yeah.
like, no, it's horrible. I feel.
Or like you used to be able to eat 2 cookies every night, and now you suddenly want 3 every night.
Yeah,
You get
exactly.
used to the 2,
Yeah, yeah.
and it has
Yeah.
compounded.
Well, if two's all it takes, then
Yeah.
why not? It's fun. It is so funny you say that. I've been reading a book recently called Tiny Habits, and it talks about how you can make like these little changes. And in the introduction to the book, he actually uses cookies as the example. And he said, here I'm sitting, and I think he was in his 40s, and I've gained about 15 pounds more than I wanted to. And I'm like, how did that even happen? He's like, then it dawned on me that every night after dinner, I now have 2 double stuffed Oreos. He's like, at 2 double stuffed Oreos adds up to, I forget how many calories, 300 calories. Well, if I take 300 calories times 365 days, that's 10 pounds.
Yeah.
He's like, and it was 2 Oreos.
And now I'm double stuffed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, to your point, it's those decisions happen, and it's the compounding of one decision on the next, plus those decisions themselves compounding that can really change the trajectory of a
Alex
lifestyle.
and I